everybody, what's going on? My name is Bryce, and today we have a double reaction. Well, it's a reaction video with two videos in it that I'm reacting to. I thought I'd treat you guys to this today. It's just a very, I thought it would be a fun thing to do, especially because these are two sort of semi-related topics, and I think I'll be throwing a couple more double reactions videos up soon as well, because I think this sounds like a good idea going forward. And so the videos today we're checking out is every natural disaster explained in 12 minutes. And the second one is every human extinction cause explained in 10 minutes. And both these videos are by the Paint Explainer. Again, I've mentioned in past videos, I really like his channel. And so I hope to check out more of his videos in the future as well. But without further ado, let's jump into
Dark Forest Hypothesis. The Dark Forest Hypothesis
Why?
says that we haven't been in contact with other alien species because they've been hiding from each other, remaining silent to survive. If aliens are intelligent enough to have the technology to contact us, they likely also have the technology to destroy us, be it through genetically engineered viruses or through star laser weapons. Even if these alien species are benevolent, they could look at us just like we look at ants and try to harvest every resource from Earth without caring. Or they could look at us as a future potential threat, preferring to destroy us before we become a problem. Technological singularity. If AI reaches a point where it can self-reproduce and create smarter versions of itself at an uncontrollable and unpredictable rate, its growth cannot be reversed, creating a rapid increase or explosion of intelligence that far surpasses the human one, rendering humans obsolete and showing us what natural selection can do. It could lead to a battle for resources, with the machines wanting them for reproducing themselves and the humans wanting them for surviving, creating a war that has an obvious outcome. Even if the AI doesn't mean to harm us, its actions could still be dangerous. For example, if it's trying to solve a problem, it might change the environment in ways that make it hard for humans to survive, as they mathematically deem that solution to be worth more than our survival. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is a double-edged sword, enabling incredible medical progress, but also giving humans, who are not known for always having the best intentions, the knowledge to hack organisms. It's only a matter of time before the tools and knowledge to create an undetectable, incredibly contagious and deadly virus are accessible to everyone. Even if not on purpose, errors could be made either in the genetic modification of an animal or in its containment, making it possible for an animal with no natural predators and a fast reproduction rate to exist, causing irreversible damage to the ecosystem. This is arguably one of the most probable causes of extinction, in my opinion. Strangelets. Strangelets are a type of particle that is very different from the ones that make up everything we know, like atoms, and are created in the super-dense core of a neutron star. It's hypothesized that when these strange particles touch normal matter, they could start a chain reaction, turning everything they touch into more strangelets. The problem is that neutron stars could potentially spew out these strangelets after a collision, making it possible for them to casually reach Earth, even though it's highly unlikely. Gamma-ray burst. Gamma-ray bursts are extremely powerful and bright flashes of very high energy light, being the second most energetic event in the universe after the Big Bang. They can be caused by things like exploding stars or merging neutron stars, and if one of these hits Earth, the ozone layer would be destroyed, leaving us vulnerable to UV rays and ending life on Earth. It's pretty unlikely though, as one of the focused beams has to be pointed towards us, and the gamma-ray burst should happen within our galaxy. Technological stagnation. If humanity hits a point where the exponential technological progression we've had until now hits a roadblock, either caused by a lack of resources needed for advanced technologies or a physical impossibility to go further, we can be stopped from colonizing other galaxies, making our extinction caused by any other reason much more likely. Not only that, but we can have future problems with resources, as without improvements in agriculture and water management, we might not be able to feed everyone, leading to starvation and conflicts over resources. Without new medical technology, a new disease could spread uncontrollably and kill a large portion of the human population. And without new anti-climate change technologies, the world could become inhabitable. Vacuum decay. It's the hypothesis that the universe we live in might not be perfectly stable. Imagine that our universe is like a ball resting in a small dent on a hill. Everything is fine as long as the ball stays in the dent, but if it somehow gets pushed out of the dent, it could roll down the hill into a deeper, more stable dent. If that happens, a bubble of true vacuum, which is much more stable than ours, gets created and starts expanding at the speed of light, changing the rules of physics as it goes. Anything inside the bubble would be destroyed because the particles that make up matter and energy would no longer behave the same way. And the scary thing is that such a bubble could already be expanding, and we wouldn't know, since the bubble travels at the speed of light, and we can't see it coming. Gray goo. If a future engineer is able to create nanobots so small that you can't see them without a microscope, but designed to build more of themselves using every material around them because of exponential growth, we would be swarmed by them even if one of them got out, and we wouldn't notice until it's too late. They would pretty much be impossible to stop, using every material the Earth has to reproduce, creating a gray goo. Supervolcanoes. Supervolcano eruptions, although pretty rare, could happen within the next few centuries. Luckily, we can predict them in time, since scientists can detect the pressure building up. When one erupts, not only will the local area be damaged by the massive explosions, lava flows that obliterate anything in their path, and an ash fall that can collapse buildings, suffocate living creatures, and contaminate water supplies, but there will also be global damages, mainly caused by the ash cloud that would block out the sun, causing a big drop in temperatures, called volcanic winter. Cosmic strings. Cosmic strings are strange, super thin, and incredibly long objects that scientists think might exist in the universe. They are like cracks in space, left over from when the universe was very young. If a cosmic string passed through our solar system, it could cut through space like a knife because of its incredible energy, and it would create strong gravitational forces, which could disrupt the orbits of planets and moons. So we either get sliced in two, or we get sent to the void. Antibiotic crisis. Right now, antibiotics make it easy to get rid of infections and do routine medical procedures, but as time passes, bacteria are getting more and more resistant to all of them. If we use more antibiotics, bacteria have a higher chance of becoming stronger against them, which is one of the reasons why it's advised to not use antibiotics without being checked by a doctor. Another reason that this happens is because the agriculture industry heavily uses them to grow food. Some projections say that if we don't discover new treatments, we could see common infections become once again life-threatening, with around 10 million deaths annually. The bad news is that research is not incentivized because it's expensive and not that profitable, as new antibiotics are usually useful against a small number of bacteria, lowering sales numbers, and one-time treatments like vaccines need to be taken only once, also causing low sales numbers. Nuclear war. There are currently around 13,000 nuclear warheads, and if every single one of them exploded, a percentage between 50 and 80% of the human population would either die immediately or in the long term. The surviving ones would find themselves in a very hostile environment, with the nuclear winter caused by a lowering of temperatures due to smoke being sent into the atmosphere and blocking out sunlight. This would cause catastrophic damage to agriculture and create food shortages. They'd also have to fight radiation that would cause severe health problems, including cancer and genetic mutations. The radiation could contaminate food and water supplies, further reducing the population over time. Climate change. Earth could become inhabitable if we hit certain tipping points. We are currently at 1.1 degrees Celsius of global warming, but if we hit 1.5, the Greenland ice sheet would start melting, which could raise sea levels by up to 7 meters over centuries, and the newly revealed ocean would start absorbing energy from the sun, further warming the region. Also, the ground without the reflective ice and water around it would heat up faster, speeding up the melt by around 60%. At that same temperature, the permafrost would start a snowball effect, causing organic matter once trapped in ice to be free and start decomposing, releasing CO2 and methane, which is much more dangerous than CO2, by the way, heating it up even more, releasing more organic matter, and so on. Permafrost melting can also cause ancient viruses and bacteria that humans have never encountered before to be released, potentially leading to new diseases. Between 1.1 and 2 degrees Celsius, we can experience the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation weakening, which would cause a giant flow of water that acts as a pathway for heat to travel from the southern hemisphere to the northern one, all the way to Greenland. A partial collapse would cause Europe to enter a mini ice age. Between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius, we have the disruption of monsoon systems, which can impact the lives of around 1 billion people and complicate global food supplies. At the same temperature, we can see the Amazon forest dieback, which is the point where the forest dries out, loses its ability to recover, and becomes savanna, which would cause the release of large amounts of CO2, further accelerating global warming and reduced rainfall in the region, causing problems in agriculture with potential food shortages. Massive asteroid. To cause human extinction, an asteroid would need to be around 10 kilometers in diameter, like the one that caused the extinction of dinosaurs. It's pretty difficult for this to happen, since scientists are monitoring every big asteroid in our vicinity, and thanks to experiments like the DART mission, designed to test and demonstrate a method of asteroid deflection by intentionally crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid at high speed, we can hypothesize that we might be able to avoid a complete catastrophe. Transhumanism. In modern times, biological evolution for humans has slowed down because
like,
we've
it's
created
like
ways to adapt to our
the
environment
next
using
like
technology
reset for
rather
like the
than relying on
population or
natural
something like that,
changes
is
in
what
our
I've heard
bodies.
is like
Technological advancement,
something
however,
that could
continues at a
happen. I
rapid
mean, I don't
pace,
know.
matter of fact, at
Maybe
a
I'm
much
just talking
faster
of
pace
like,
than biological evolution.
what do
This
you
has
call
led
it?
to the concept of
Conspiracy, not conspiracy
transhumanism, where
theories,
technology is used to
like
enhance human
rumors, or
abilities
I don't know.
beyond natural limits.
Like maybe
We
I don't
could
know what I'm
edit our
talking
genes
about,
to
but I
adapt
just wonder if
ourselves
there's
to
gonna
other
ever be like a
planets, thus
population
making
reset
different
or like
human
some sort of
subspecies. One
catastrophic
of the most
event, like
extreme
another
ideas in
ice age in the
transhumanism
next
is
like
digital consciousness, which
million years or
involves
so,
uploading human
since it's
minds
like
into
since it's
computers
been
or
around.
creating
It's
a
been a
hive
while since
mind
the
where many
last
people's
one.
thoughts and experiences are
And so
interconnected,
yeah,
functioning as a super intelligent single entity. At this point, we'd need incredibly
really.
different organisms to roam around the world and gather resources, putting humanity as we define it to an end, but keeping humans alive in another new form. Heat death. The universe might be heading towards heat death in trillions of years from now, which is a theoretical future where the universe has expanded so much that it becomes very cold and empty. Eventually, there will be no more energy differences, meaning no heat, light, or activity anywhere. Everything will be spread out evenly, at a very low temperature, leading to a dark, lifeless universe where nothing new can happen. So even if we survive all of the other threats, we will still die at the end,
Yeah.
even though there's speculation that a new Big Bang might happen in the future, creating another universe. If you want to suggest an idea for the
Well, that first video on extinction causes was very interesting. I learned a lot about a lot of different things. Most of those extinctions are different eras of events that had happened and certain extinction causes I'd never heard of before, and so it was good to gain a little bit of knowledge that way. Every time I watch a pain explainer video, I definitely learn a lot, and I appreciate the channel. I know I keep saying it, but anyways, I think that yeah, that was just a great, starter video. And now, before we jump into this weather video, or the natural disaster video, not just weather is what I meant to say, please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. Thank you so much for joining me today, and let's jump into the second.
earthquake. Earthquakes are mainly caused by the movement of the tectonic plates, either because they grind against each other or because they move away, which is why they're much more common in places near the edges of tectonic plates. About 90% of the world's earthquakes, including the biggest ones, happen in the Ring of Fire, which is a tectonic belt that contains countries like Japan,
Really?
New Zealand, and
Never heard of
Indonesia.
this.
Earthquakes' intensity is measured using seismic magnitude scales, with the most intense earthquake ever being the Great Chilean Earthquake in 1960, which reached a magnitude of 9.5.
Yo.
The deadliest earthquake ever, however, was the 1556 Shanxi earthquake, which killed more than 830,000
Almost
people. There are also
1 million
many types of
people died?
earthquakes, such as the megathrust earthquake, which happens when one tectonic plate is forced underneath another, and which is the same type of earthquake as the 10 largest ones recorded. It's important to point out that an earthquake is the most likely natural disaster to trigger other natural disasters, especially
floods?
tsunamis,
Yeah, tsunamis.
landslides, volcanic eruptions,
Yeah.
and floods.
I said
Volcanic
floods first,
eruptions.
but
A
then I guess
volcano is
tsunamis
simply
and
a
floods
rupture
were
in the
two
crust of
two
Earth that
separate
allows lava,
examples.
volcanic ash, and
Not the
gases
same,
to escape from a
I guess.
magma chamber below the surface. They are mostly found on tectonic plate edges, and because most of Earth's plate boundaries are underwater, most volcanoes are found underwater. It's also why the Ring of Fire contains between 750 and 915 active or dormant volcanoes, which is around 2/3 of the world
Wow.
total. If a large eruption happened, it would affect atmospheric temperature as ash and droplets of sulfuric acid obscure the sun and cool Earth, causing a volcanic winter. There are many types of volcanoes, but the most feared one is the supervolcano, which is a volcano that has experienced one or more eruptions that produced huge amounts of volcanic deposits. The most famous active supervolcano is the Yellowstone caldera in the US. Fortunately, their eruptions are really rare, as only 4 are currently known from the last million
Oh,
years,
million
but if
years
one
is-
were to happen, it would
is
cause
good
incredible
odds.
damage. The deadliest eruption was the 1850 eruption in
Yeah, I'm saying,
Indonesia,
like-
with a death
like a
toll
million
between
years is
71,000 and 250,000
good odds.
people. It was
If
so
it
bad
happened
that
in
it
a million
created
years,
global
because, like,
climate changes, causing the
it's
year
just, like, I don't know.
1816 to be called
Yeah.
the year without a summer.
At least
In the
we all
northern
will be around for
hemisphere,
it. I mean, unless
livestock
you're
died
immortal.
and crops failed, resulting in the worst famine of the century. Hail.
But I do feel
Hail
bad for
happens when
people
ice
that
balls fall from the
any of
sky.
those
They're
explosions
created
happen
when
for in
strong
the
winds in a storm
millions
lift
of
raindrops
years.
high into the sky where it is very cold, making the drops freeze into ice balls. As they
So
get
it's gonna
blown
be
around,
falling
more
ice
ice
balls?
layers build up on them, making them bigger until they become too heavy and they fall to the ground as
Yeah.
hailstones. They are not the same as ice pellets or
gonna-
grapple.
they're
For
gonna
example,
probably-
ice pellets generally
Yeah.
fall in cold weather, while hail growth is greatly inhibited during
Yeah.
low surface temperatures. Hail is most common during thunderstorms,
You know what's
and in
funny?
places like
Like,
the
I've always
Hail
seen
Valley
hail
in the
fall from the
US.
sky.
Also, when you cut a hailstone in half, you can often see
'Cause where I grew
layers
up,
like
there's, like,
those in an
tons of rain
onion.
and
These
hail and
layers
stuff like
show
that.
how many times the hailstone was
Especially
lifted
in
and
the
fell
winters,
inside the
but
storm cloud. The worst
what I
disasters
never
caused by hailstorms happened in Germany and
really
Australia, with
saw
damages
was,
of
like,
around $2 billion.
one of them, like, hit me or, like, hit the
Landslide.
ground or anything
Landslides
like
are
that. I've
powerful
only
and
ever seen it
often
on, like,
sudden movements
windshields
of
and
large
stuff.
amounts of rock, soil, and debris down a slope, and they can
Right.
happen everywhere. Even though they're more likely in areas
Now
with
they have,
steep
like,
slopes,
some,
loose
like
soil, or where there has
ropes
been a
and
lot of rain.
protective, like,
Big
metal, like,
landslides, if
gates
they
and
hit
wiring
water,
that
can generate
helps prevent
tsunamis or
landslides
even
out.
mega tsunamis. The deadliest landslide in history happened in China,
I like saying
where an
that's what they're
earthquake
for. They'll have them on
initiated
the sides of slopes, like little,
675 big
nets
landslides
or, like,
that killed
metal things that
200,000
help
people.
block the
Hurricane. A hurricane is a rapidly rotating storm system, continuously rotating around a low pressure center, which causes stormy weather
I've never
across a
been in a
large area.
hurricane, but
They are not to
I
be
remember at the
confused with
science
tornadoes,
museums,
even though both of them are
they
types of
have, like,
cyclones. To be
simulations.
considered hurricanes,
But
they
to
need to
everybody who's
achieve the
been
target of 1
hear of
minute
hurricane,
maximum
like,
sustained winds of
God bless, and I
75
feel
miles
really
per
sorry
hour
for
or
you, and I
more.
hope you're doing
An
all
interesting thing
right. So
about
I'm not
them is that
downplaying
they
it by saying
actually
it's just like
form
a
over
game at a
warm
science
ocean
museum.
waters, usually when sea surface
yeah.
temperatures are at
I
least
hope
80
you're all
degrees
great.
Fahrenheit. One of the deadliest hurricanes in U.S. history is Hurricane Katrina, which struck the Gulf Coast, particularly
it's
New
like a
Orleans in
tragedy, so probably not all
2005,
great,
causing
but
over 1,800
exactly,
deaths and
1,800
$125
deaths,
billion
so,
in damage.
um,
Cold wave. A cold wave is a rapid fall in temperature within a 24-hour period that requires increased protection for
The point was
agriculture,
is that,
industry, commerce, and people. It poses a danger not only to people through frostbite and
sympathy
hypothermia,
or-
but
I don't
also to
know, is
livestock
what I
and
was trying to
crops.
say.
And if a cold wave is accompanied by heavy and persistent snow, grazing animals may be unable to reach needed
Yeah.
food and die of
Oh,
hypothermia or starvation. They can also cause damage, causing poorly insulated water pipelines and mains to freeze. The population usually requires more fuel and energy during this time, even though
For
the
heat,
generation of
probably.
electrical power may fail due to the freezing
Yeah.
of water necessary for
heating
the
system.
generation of
Okay.
hydroelectricity. The body also needs more
So, like, for the
energy,
heating
as exposure to
systems and
cold
stuff.
increases the need for greater caloric intake for everyone. Counterintuitively, fires become even
Yeah.
more of a hazard during extreme cold. Water mains may break, and water supplies may become unreliable,
so it
making
just
firefighting
spreads.
more
It'll just
difficult.
spread then.
Also, the air during a cold wave is typically denser and thus contains more oxygen. So when the air that a fire draws in becomes unusually cold, it is likely to cause a more intense fire. One of the only things in cold waves that can help stop fires is snow. Avalanche. There are two main types of avalanches: slab avalanches, which are made of tightly packed snow and triggered by the collapse of an underlying weak snow layer, and loose snow avalanches, which are made of looser snow. After being set off, avalanches usually accelerate rapidly and grow as they
Yeah.
capture more snow, in what's called the snowball effect. They can be triggered either by natural causes or by human activities like skiing, snowmobiles,
I've never
etc.
been
Even
in
though,
an
contrary to
avalanche, but I've
popular
seen,
belief,
like,
they can't be triggered by loud
pictures
sounds.
and, like,
The worst
videos
avalanche
and
ever
stuff like
happened
that,
in
and it's
1970 in
insane.
Peru, when an earthquake caused an avalanche
How
so
massive
big
they
that
are.
it destroyed the city of Yungay
Destroyed
and
the whole
10 nearby
city
villages,
in
causing
villages?
30,000
Wow.
deaths. Heat wave. A heat wave is a prolonged period of excessively hot weather that usually lasts days or weeks and is usually accompanied by high
Longest one
humidity
I've been in
levels.
was like
They
a
form
week
when a
long.
high-pressure area in the atmosphere remains over an area for a prolonged period of time, trapping heat near the Earth's surface. They have high impacts on the economy, especially the agricultural sector, causing crop failures. People can die from hyperthermia. The risk of wildfires is increased in areas with drought, and they can even lead to widespread electricity outages because more air conditioning is used. One of the deadliest heat waves in recent history happened in 2003 with the European heat wave, which caused an estimated 70,000
maybe it's
deaths.
like a minor heat wave
Tornado.
that I've been in. Then.
There are different types of tornadoes, like the multiple vortex tornado, which has two or
But
more
honestly, rest
vortexes
in peace
rotating
to
about
those
their own
people.
axes and at the same time revolve around a common center. Most tornadoes have wind speeds less than 110 miles per hour, are about
It's like a south or
250
Midwest
feet
thing, right?
across, and
Tornadoes?
travel a
I
few
didn't hear too
miles
many
before
in
dissipating.
the north,
The
'cause
most
I grew up in the
extreme
north
tornadoes,
of the
however,
US,
have
so
wind
I
speeds
didn't
of
hear
more
about
than
too many
300
of
miles
these,
per hour, are more than 2
tornadoes.
miles in
But I've seen them
diameter,
on
and stay on the
TV,
ground
like
for more
storm
than
chasers.
62 miles. The most known rating system for tornadoes is the enhanced Fujita scale, where an EF0 tornado is only capable of damaging trees, while an EF5 rips buildings off their foundations and can deform large skyscrapers. Tornadoes often develop from a type of thunderstorm known as supercells, which contain a rotating area up in the atmosphere. A tornado begins when increasing rainfall drags with it an area of quickly descending air known as the rear flank downdraft, which accelerates as it approaches the ground. The country with the most tornadoes is the United States, with an average of 1,200 tornadoes, especially the central eastern part of it, known as the Tornado Alley. The deadliest tornado in the U.S. happened in 1925, when the tri-state tornado traveled through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, killing at least 751 people and causing extensive damage over 219 miles. Flooding. Human changes like deforestation, the removal of wetlands, changes in the waterway course, or flood controls might end up causing more floods if not planned properly. Climate change also plays a huge role in this type of natural disaster, as sea levels rise and most coastal cities like Venice disappear. Rivers have the advantages of having fertile land around them and providing easy travel and commerce routes, which is why many cultures have historically lived near them and still do. But the other side of the coin is the danger of floods. Another threat that needs to be remembered is the increased spread of waterborne diseases such as cholera, hepatitis A, and hepatitis E. The spread doesn't only happen when people directly touch the water, but also because of a lack of clean water during a flood, since most water supplies are contaminated when flooding occurs. Respiratory diseases also increase, since flooding can cause chronically wet houses, leading to the growth of indoor mold. The worst floods happened in 1931, with the China floods causing between 2 and 4 million deaths, most of them caused by long-term effects of the floods, like the lack of food. A cholera epidemic happened in the subsequent year, causing around another 32,000 deaths. Wildfire. Some natural forest ecosystems actually depend on wildfires, mainly for cleaning dead trees and bushes, and at the same time, allowing for new growth. To avoid wildfires that would be too big, we sometimes do prescribed burns, which help to keep the situation under control. Also, wildfires usually start in regions that have climatic cycles with wet periods that create substantial fuels, followed by drought and heat, which is why they are most common in places like California, Siberia, British Columbia, and Australia. There are 4 types of fire spreading: ground, crawling, ladder, and crown. Ground fires are fed by underground roots, duff on the forest floor, and other buried organic matter. Crawling fires are fueled by low-lying vegetation on the forest floor, such as leaf and timber litter, debris, grass, etc. Ladder fires consume material between low-level vegetation and tree canopies, such as small trees, downed logs, and vines. And lastly, crown fires burn suspended material at the canopy level, such as tall trees, vines, and mosses. An interesting thing is that wildfires can form pyrocumulonimbus clouds, which is a type of cloud that forms over sources of heat and might help extinguish the same fire that formed it. The deadliest wildfire happened in 1871, when the Peshtigo fire burned 1.2 million acres and killed between 1,500 and 2,500 people. Tsunami. While normal waves are caused by the wind or by tides, a tsunami is generated by the displacement of water from a large event, like earthquakes, landslides, volcanic eruptions, etc. Tsunamis in the deep ocean have a much larger wavelength of up to 120 miles and can travel well over 500 miles per hour, which is as fast as an average commercial jet. A peculiar thing about tsunamis is that when they reach shallow waters, they slow down and their height increases. Also, when tsunamis happen, a weird effect called a drawback can happen, which is when the ocean water suddenly pulls back from the shore, exposing the seafloor that is usually underwater. This can be dangerous for people who don't know about it, since they sometimes remain near the shore to satisfy their curiosity or to collect fish from the exposed seabed. In Japan, ancient tsunami stones have been placed by previous generations to mark the highest points reached by tsunamis. These stones serve as warnings to future generations to avoid building homes below these points. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami was among the deadliest natural disasters in human history, with at least 230,000 people killed or missing in 14 countries. Drought. A drought is a period of drier than normal conditions that can last for days, months, or years. They are more likely to happen in the tropics because of their annual dry seasons, and when they do happen, they increase the likelihood of wildfires, while heat waves can significantly worsen drought conditions. The problems caused by droughts range from a lack of water supplies for drinking and irrigation to mass migrations caused by famines. One of the most severe droughts in U.S. history was the Dust Bowl in 1930. It affected the Great Plains, causing massive dust storms and displacing thousands of families. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord. Link in the description.
Well, that video on natural disasters was great as well. I really enjoyed reacting to it. And in that video, there's a lot of different natural disasters I learned about, and some, or at least most of them, I haven't actually personally experienced IRL or firsthand. And again, I know I was just like saying things about it, but like genuinely to those who have experienced these, like my condolences, like my honest condolences. I know when people say my condolences, that it's like sometimes like the dishonest thing or whatever, or it's just like a joking like manner. But like honestly, like I do feel bad for you that have had to go through this for real. And anyways, or go through those events for real. But yeah, I only really had experienced a couple of those, but it was still good to learn about the other events and certain facts and frequencies and how dangerous and deadly they can actually be. And again, yeah, like not my condolences, but I guess like prayer, not prayers exactly, but I don't know, like I guess my sympathies or maybe something like that, like go out to everybody. And I mean, like, well, I guess it is prayers and condolences, but I know like people say my condolences, and like I said, it's like, sometimes not the most honest like thing to say, or like sometimes they say it jokingly, but some people do say my condolences honestly. So this isn't to offend you, this video. This is more of just like what I've experienced in the past before. So that's not to offend you at all. So I hope that's like not a major issue. But anyways, thank you again, because thank you so much for rocking with me today, or just watching this video and reacting to these. I really appreciated it. But again, yeah, I learned a lot, and Pain Explainer is great. But before you head out, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a great day.